glad to be together in unity. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. Oh, we're so glad to be together in unity. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. Come on in as we gather for a while. Let's give a hug and share a smile. Come on in and meet a friend and be accepted as you are. We're so glad to be together in unity. We're so glad you're here. Yeah. We're so glad you're here. Oh, we're so glad to be together in unity. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. Oh, we're so glad to be together in, where are we? Unity. Why don't you greet somebody and say, welcome to Unity, glad you're here. And then you may be seated. All right, I want to ask you a question. How are your molecules and your cells feeling this morning? Really? That is strange that you mentioned that. That just made me think of a song. I think we ought to do it. What do you guys think? Let's get those cells warmed up.
I know it.
Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Woo! Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well.
Oh boy.
All right. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Can we do a little more?
Oh boy.
Let's give it all we got. You ready? Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. All right. Come on, give me jazz hands this morning. Yeah, hey, hey, hey. All right, you doing good? Are you warmed up yet? Are you allowing the electromagnetic power of the divine presence fill every cell of your being, enlightening you and causing you to feel good? Does that sound good? Yeah. All right. We're going to invite the children to come up at this time. All right. Look at them. Aren't they beautiful? All right, yeah. Love it, love it, love it. Fantastic. You guys look great this morning. Do you know how wonderful you are? Do you? Do you know? I know you know. God is. I am. I create. I pray. And I act. On the truth that I know. God is. And I am. And I create. I pray. And I act. On the truth that I know. There is only one God. There is only one love. All right. All right, let's send them off to their classes with a little blessing. We love you, we bless you, and we behold the Christ in you. We appreciate you, and we bless all of your teachers and your parents and everybody else too. All right. Thank you, guys. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker this morning. I want to introduce Leah King. Everybody knows you.
Everybody knows me. Even though it's been a while. Good morning. How are you? I am here. Do you have mornings like that? I'm here. I'm here this morning. I'm glad you're here this morning. How many of you know me well enough to know what my favorite word is? No. That's my favorite food. But how many of you? Oh, Jill knows. Is that what you're going to say? Yeah, grace. Grace has been my favorite word. For a long time, we had the word grace on the back of the wall here, and I was one of the ones that said, grace needs to go on the wall because that's my favorite word, because I've experienced so much of it in my lifetime. I've experienced a lot of it in the last 2 years. How about you? Yep. So, I'm going to start off this morning. 2 Corinthians 9:8 says, and God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance for every good work. I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't feel like I have all sufficiency in all things. Do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like you're coming up short in some way, either with your spiritual practice or your emotional body or your financial situation? You feel like you don't have it. That's a feeling, right? But this scripture tells us that we always have all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance for every good work. So there's this thing called the law of karma, and James and I have discussions about the idea of karma a lot. But the law of karma was set up to be sure that we received whatever we put out. The boomerang effect, right? We know that what we put out, we receive back. How many of you are awfully glad that some of the stuff that you've put out in your lifetime, you haven't reaped back to the capacity that you felt like you should have, or that you could have, right? So it corrects our error thinking, but it also ensures that the good that was done would multiply and grow. So we know that what we put out, we get back, and that works in the good. That's why we're always trying our best to put out good so that we get that back. But sometimes we fall short of that mark, don't we? And what we wind up putting out is a little less than what we might qualify as good. So the law of grace is this divine favor that we all get just by being alive. It teaches us rather than punishes us, because I know there's a lot of things that I have done in my life that if the law of karma was fully at work and I didn't have that law of grace to temper it, I may not even be here today, right? I may not even be here today because I've done some really stupid, selfish, greedy, judgmental. Anybody had an apple out of that bag? So without grace to temper it, the law of karma would be too harsh on us in and of itself. So grace is this influx of the higher good in our lives. Do you see that higher good in your life? You wake up in the morning and what? There's a sun in the sky, and the sun provides the sunshine that we need to grow our food, right? To produce the things that we need. I need oxygen, and guess what? I just happen to live in a world where there's oxygen, right? Thankfully, I live on a planet where that exists. Grace can also be an expansion, a door to an expansion of our consciousness, if we allow it. We have to become the grace of God in the midst of whatever situation you find yourself in. We become grace. We become grace to others. How many of you have had to extend some grace in your lifetime to others? And again, we do that with that idea that as we put out, we get back. As I extend grace to others, I get that grace back unto myself. Well, I'm going to share a story this morning. It's a hard story for me to share, but I feel like it's a necessary story. So how many of you think I'm doing good this morning? I'm okay. I look like I'm doing pretty good. Right? Let me tell you something. I am full of anxiety. I am suffering from depression. There's a part of me that really doesn't even want to be standing here this morning because it's putting me way out of my comfort zone. It's been so long since I did this. But I have an important story to tell, and I want you to know that, and I want to share this story because I think sometimes we get stuck in the idea that because I'm not doing X, Y, Z, I'm not okay. There's something wrong with me. I'm falling short. I'm somehow missing out on stuff. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so when James asked me to speak a couple weeks ago, I said, well, yes, I will. I will put myself out there and I will do that because it's been a while and I need to do that. And he spoke not Christmas, Easter, but the week before that, there was something in what he was talking about that clicked in me, and I told him afterwards, I said, I think when I do the talk, I'd like to share the story of what I've gone through the last 2 years, because I think it may help someone, because I think there's other people that are probably in the same situation, and maybe they're just too afraid or too ashamed or whatever to say anything about it, to be there. So let me start the story by saying that in May of 2019, there was a traumatic experience that happened during the night, and it planted a seed. By the fall of 2019, I recognized that I was experiencing some post-traumatic stress disorder around that event. And I recognized that I was dealing with some pretty deep depression. I was having crying bouts and just not feeling myself. Well, then we fast forward to March 2020, and we know what happened there, right? Everything shut down. Now all of a sudden there's all of this social trauma, more seeds that are being planted, more thoughts about death and dying and separating and that sort of thing. And James and I, in our position as ministers, we deal with the loss of congregants or the loss of people in our lives, do a lot of memorial services. We're kind of used to having to deal with that, but there was a lot of loss in 2020. A lot of loss of people that we knew, family members of people that we knew. And so there again, it's those little seeds that are just being planted. Christmas of 2020, I lost my beloved father-in-law, James's dad. And that hit hard. I had a particularly special relationship with him because of my own kind of lack of relationship with my own dad. He was like my dad in many ways. So that was a very hard loss. So the early morning hours of January 1st, 2021, brand new year, anticipating that my year is going to be better, right? We come to the burning bowl ceremony on the 31st, and we write out our things we want to let go of, and I write out the things I want to let go. I want to let go of depression. I want to let go of all this fear that I'm having around things, and I put it in the bowl, and I burn it, and 2021 is going to be a better year, da-da-da-da. I wake up in the early morning hours of January 1st, 2021, and I don't have a heartbeat. Seriously, I wake dead up, bolt up from a sound sleep, and I'm going, oh my God, I don't have a heartbeat. I can't feel my heart. Now, of course my heart was beating, but it was a panic attack. And I was having a panic attack around my heart not beating, and it sounds really weird when you say that, but anyway, I lived in this state of being anxiety-ridden. I mean, just riddled is the better word, riddled with anxiety, 24/7 with these panic attacks that I would have. And I did this for a long time. You do it one night, you think, okay, that's beyond me, I'm on the other side of that. But it kept going, and I became obsessed with my heart rate. I was constantly, I don't think I feel my heart. It feels slow, it feels fast, it feels this, it feels that. I became obsessed with my heart rate. I slept in a recliner for a bit because I developed a fear around my bed and around nighttime because this had happened in my bed. And every night when I had to go to bed, it was this sense of dread that, my God, I may lay down and I may not wake up in the morning. There's this sense of dread. And then the social anxiety set in because I was unsure when these panic attacks would arise. I could be talking with someone and all of a sudden, boom, there would be this overwhelming panic. But at the same time, I was afraid of being alone because, my God, if something happens and I'm alone, there's nobody to help me. So on July 8th of 2021, James and I were riding in the car coming from somewhere, and I said to him, if I go home, I won't be alive in the morning. I don't know what's wrong with me, but if I go home, I won't be alive in the morning. And he said, well, then we need to take you over to emergent care and let them check you out. Let's let them prove to you that there's nothing wrong with you, because that's kind of the assumption. Okay, it's the mind playing this scenario out. It's the mind and the emotions building something up. This is all anxiety. There's nothing to fear. You're perfectly safe. Everything is okay. Now, through all of this, I had been using every tool that I knew to use and every tool that I have told all of you to use, right? The prayer, the meditation, the focusing on the breath, the being in the now, the letting go, the releasing, the affirmations and the denials. And still, here I was in the midst of this. So he said, let's go over to emergent care. Get over to emergent care, and I tell them the same thing. I've been going through this severe anxiety and panic. I don't know if there's anything wrong with me, but I have this overwhelming feeling that if I go home tonight, I'm not going to wake up in the morning. Well, sweetheart, let's bring you in here and see what you got going on. They were so sweet. Brought me in. Sure enough, oh, well, you know what? They did a blood draw, and the cardiac enzyme that's present in heart attacks, you got it, it's elevated. So we're going to take you out of here, and we're going to take you over to the hospital. Looks like you're having a heart attack. Did I create something beautifully? Am I not a good manifester? Well, as it turned out, it wasn't a heart attack, but my blood pressure was about 262 over 157, which was almost there. I almost created that for myself, right? Finally, so that was in July. Finally, by November, so we're talking November, December, January, February, March, April, 5 months ago, I'm finally able to, through the help of some nighttime hypnosis and some things like that, finally able to get to where I'm able to sleep through the night. So you got to understand that during all of this time, most nights I wasn't even sleeping. By the time I did get back to the bed, I was sleeping upright, and I would nod off, and then I would wake up, and then I would nod off, and then I would wake up. So for me and poor James and the people in my life, being around me was like being around a cat on a hot tin roof, right? Because I just wasn't getting any sleep. I was just not in a good position. So finally, by November, blessed sleep. I am now finally able to walk to my bed and anticipate a wonderful night's sleep, get into the bed, sleep most of the way through, so that I can be here, and I'm here, right? I am still not yet 100% myself. I've told James that in many ways I don't feel like the same person I was 2 years ago. I'm in a very different place. A lot has happened. I'm still processing. What have I learned through all of this? I cannot fully tell you yet. I'm still figuring it out. I have learned some things, and I will share those here in just a few minutes. But for the most part, I'm still figuring it out. So I want to relate just a moment to the story of the Wizard of Oz. Do you remember in the Wizard of Oz when Dorothy's traveling the yellow brick road, right? And the yellow brick road is symbolic of our spiritual walk. We're on this spiritual walk. Well, how many remember in the story where all of a sudden she's met the Tin Man, she's met the Scarecrow, and all of a sudden things start getting a little dark. And the road is becoming a little more narrow. And all of a sudden they find themselves in the haunted forest. How many of you have found yourself in the haunted forest? It's what sometimes is referred to as the dark night of the soul. And we all have them. I've had a lot of loss in my life. I've had a lot of dark nights of the soul. I've had physical loss of loved ones. I've suffered a miscarriage and lost that way. I've suffered financial loss. We all have those dark nights of the soul, right? It's interesting that Dorothy is carrying with her into this experience what I mentioned earlier, the Tin Man, the heart, the emotions, and the Scarecrow, the thinking, the brain, the mind. And so when we come into these dark nights, we have these thoughts and we have these emotions that can drive us to some even darker places. We can create a lot of crap for ourselves. Yes? Yes, we can. Who does she encounter in the haunted forest? Who? The lion. She encounters the cowardly lion. But what is he told when they meet up with the wizard? You had the courage all the time, right? You had it all the time. So she meets up with the courage. So it's in the midst of the dark nights of the soul sometimes that we encounter the courage. Thank God for the grace there that allows us to propel ourselves on along that golden road, the yellow brick road, on along our spiritual journey so that we can come outside the other side of the haunted forest. Now the temptation, once we get out of that, do you remember what she encountered next? The puppies, the beautiful puppies, the things that would distract us and have us fall asleep to who we really are and to have us fall asleep to our journey, right? So we have to be aware when we come out of these things not to get sidetracked again. But the haunted forest is an important part of our spiritual journey because it's in there that we find that, I had to really dig deep. My friends, I had to dig deep. James would say to me, well, breathe. I'm like, I'm breathing, right? I had to really dig deep. And without the journey into the haunted forest, without the journey into the dark night of the soul, I never would have been called upon to dig as deep as I had to dig. Can you see the grace in that? The ability to learn something in that, the experience that leads to grace and appreciation, because coming out of it, coming into the light, we're into the light, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Remember that song they sang, we're da-da-da, right? I can look back and say, oh, I could have not gone to the emergent care that night and really been in a bad shape with that kind of blood pressure. What grace in that? What grace in that I said, yes, maybe I should listen to my body. Maybe I should go, right? The grace of waking up every single morning with an appreciation that I am here. It is a new day. I cannot let any day go to waste. Every day we need to be squeezing the juice out of it as much as we can, down to the very last drop, because we never know. Right? The grace and the experience is one thing that I take away from all of this. You know, the idea that you pull up to the stop sign and the other person sitting there lets you go. Or the idea that they don't let you go. And by not letting you go, it delays your trip by 30 seconds and you avoid something down the road. The point is that in the midst of these situations, it can be easy to cry, "Why me? What did I ever do?" Right? Why me? I'm a good person. Why me? I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm putting out good stuff. Why me? And I said to James yesterday when I was having this discussion with him about something, I said, I think the more appropriate question is probably, why not me? Why not me? We live in a form, in humanity, where crap happens. And if you don't think that that's true, somebody sold you a bad bill of goods. Because stuff happens. It's part of the human experience. I've talked a lot before about it. There's a delicate line in balancing both our spirituality and our humanity. And we have to stay in both. We can't lose our humanity. We're here in physical form. We can't, my dad used to say, "You're so spiritually high, you're no earthly good." I don't know, maybe that was a good thing. Better than to be so earthly low, you're no spiritually good. I don't know. But we're always in this balancing act, keeping one foot in this reality, in this physical form, and one foot in our spiritual journey. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. We're having a human experience. So why not me? Right? So when you find yourselves, did you know that, by the way, anxiety and depression have increased 25% in the 2 years? In 2 years, it's up 25%. So when I have made comments like, always be mindful that you may be encountering people that are going through stuff, I'm really putting that out about myself. Please remember that when you encounter me, I may be showing up as less than I'd like to because I'm going through stuff. So my apologies if I have shown up to you in less ways than I've always shown up before, but I've been going through stuff. And I know some of you have been going through stuff, and maybe not you here in the room, maybe it's somebody that's watching streaming. But I know a lot of us have been going through stuff. So I want us to remember the grace that exists within it. Grace is not about what you think you deserve, but it's about what you really need. Grace comes in the learning. This is a school. Some of us are at the elementary level, some of us are at the high school level, some of us are at the graduate level. Doesn't matter where you're at. You have to pass the tests, go to the next level, don't you? You have to pass the tests. So the tests are always being presented to us. I may think I don't deserve it, but grace doesn't traffic in whether I'm good enough or not. It's not about earning grace, because we could never do enough to earn the kind of grace that we're given. It's just learning to receive it with gratitude. Grace just is. It's an aspect of the divine. It just is. We choose forgiveness rather than condemnation. We choose to love rather than hate. We choose to help rather than ignore. The key is to learn to recognize the grace at the moment that you're in it. See, I wasn't recognizing the grace in the midst of what I was going through. And how many of you think, oh, this particular thing needs to turn out this way. And if it doesn't, then I'm not going to be happy. And then 2 years down the road, you look back on that thing and you go, boy, am I glad that didn't turn out that way. Because you can't see what's up the road. You can't see what's coming. You can't see how that particular outcome might not be the best and highest for your good. So it's learning to see the grace in, oh, that didn't work out? Okay. There must be something else. Oh, I'm having trouble with my knees today? Yeah, I'm having trouble with my knees today. I'm having trouble with my knees today? Okay, well, I probably need to give some loving attention to my knees. They need me to be kind to them. I am so grateful I have knees. I'm so grateful that I can bend. Now, sometimes it takes me a while to get up, but I'm so grateful that I can bend, that I can bend down to pick something up, that my knees flex the way they're supposed to. I'm so grateful for sleep. I'm telling you what, the first night that I actually slept about 4 hours without waking up, you would have thought that the heavens parted and the angels were singing. I'm so grateful. And I did experience the grace in that moment. I did see the grace and the gratitude in that moment. But sometimes that's why part of, for the past year or two, I've opened up the service with here's the national thing that we're celebrating today. Because sometimes we forget to look for things to be grateful for. We forget that there's so much to be grateful for. And grace comes in that gratitude of what is. We've learned to be content with however things show up. Because I have not yet figured out a way to change how things show up. I have not figured that one out yet. If I do figure it out, I will be sure and let you know. But I have not yet figured out how to keep things from showing up the way they do. Oh, there must be a reason why they show up that way. There must be some learning in that for me to do. There must be some grace to be extracted from that. Quit questioning why. I think that's one thing I've learned. Quit questioning why. Just be with what is to the best of your ability, to the best capacity that you have to be with it. And you know what? If it doesn't look how somebody else shows up with it, it's okay. You do you. You show up with it how you can show up with it, how you can be with it. Don't ever, ever, ever berate yourself for not being as good as so-and-so, or showing up as well as so-and-so, or handling this like so-and-so would have handled it. Be where you are with where you're at the present moment, and just accept that and be okay with it. Because trust me, I did a whole lot of, why in God's name am I up there telling people how to do this when I can't even make myself go to sleep at night? Right? What's wrong with me? Nothing. You're just in the haunted forest, and you need to find the cowardly lion. You need to find the lion. Because you're hanging out too much with the Tin Man and the Scarecrow. You're hanging out too much with your mind and your emotions, and you need to find the courage. Once the courage is found, then the courage can work in tandem with the mind and the emotions, and then all three of us can come out of that haunted forest doing that little ditty, da 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 da, right? But it takes all three of them. You have to find the courage. So grace is there inside of every moment. Sometimes we just have to look for it. I've also learned that you can't get away from things. There is no running away. And if you do find a way to extricate is the word. I also have a little difficulty finding words right now. If you extricate yourself from the situation, that's the right phrase, right? You will find yourself in another situation just like it. I'm sorry, but that's true. If you leave this scenario because the people aren't behaving themselves and aren't acting like you want them to be, aren't doing things your way, you don't like what's going on, you'll find yourself over here in this group, and guess what? They'll be doing things the same way. I got myself out of that one. Now I'm over here and I got to deal with it over here. Look for the patterns. Look for the things that you keep trying to get away from, and recognizing how often they're showing up irregardless. Those are probably your lessons. So I've learned you can't outrun things. You can't get away from them. You have to be present with what is. I've also questioned absolutely every belief I have held up to this point. Now, some of us may think, well, that doesn't sound like a good thing. Yeah. Your beliefs really do have to be put to the test, because you need to know what you believe because you believe it, and not because James or I or some other person out there, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, whomever, told you that this is how you should think, or this is the way things work, or whatever. You have to know it for yourself. And how do you know something? By putting it to the test. So I had meditation doesn't work. I'm trying to meditate. Here comes the circus. Meditation doesn't work. Breathing doesn't work. I mean, it does. But focused conscious breathing doesn't work. What happens when I die? I don't want to die. I thought I was ready to go, but now I'm not. What happens? I know. I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with that. All of these things, that the beliefs, the ideas that I've held on to, that I've felt fairly certain I had worked out, I got to test them all. Meditation works. I found that out for myself. Meditation does work. I have to work meditation, I think is what it is, right? I have to do the work. Meditation works. Prayer works. Breathing works. Most of the beautiful things that I have had in my tool bag, my spiritual tool bag, my life tool bag, work. I proved that to myself. Most of them work. There are a few things that are hanging out in the I got to decide upon these things box, right? I'm still testing them. I'm still working them, figuring things out. But most things I've found out, they do work. I just have to work them. I have to do the work. So for anybody who's going through the haunted forest, the dark night of the soul, if you're experiencing anything, I'm here to tell you, you are not alone, because it can be a very lonely place. It feels very isolated. It feels very lonely. But you're not alone. You're surrounded by people who are going through the same kinds of things that you are. Some of us cover it up better than others. Some of us have it to differing levels. My dark night of the soul may be, it's an everyday occurrence to me, to you. There are levels. Your dark night of the soul might be completely different. It may be different in the endurance. It may be different in the way that it's affecting you. The point being, you're not any different than anybody else. We all have pain. We all have suffering to a degree. It's learning to, as we talk about so often, just be comfortable in the midst of the uncomfortableness. But you're not alone. And I wanted to share that story to help you know that you're not alone. And if there's anything that James and I can do to help you, please let us know. Grace is all around us. We just have to look for it sometimes and recognize it. You know, grace is often a surprise. It shows up just at the moment we need it. Just at the moment we need it. It's a gift. Grace is a gift. So I hope in some small way that this sharing this morning is a moment of grace for you, that it's a surprise, that it's a gift, that it's something that you can take from here. Even if you're not going through anything like that, hold on to it, because you are in physical form and you will encounter something at some point. Just hold on to that idea and look for the grace in every day. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie. I know that took a lot of courage to share that, and I hope that you're all okay with that. Because, you know, in these times that we live in, it's important that we are authentic and real with each other. You know, sometimes in unity we have a tendency to just put a fake smile out, you know, but on the inside there's stuff going on. And so when you have the opportunity to sit with another person and just share, you know, just say what's going on, because sometimes it's just getting it out, you know, just getting it out, because life sometimes can be tough, you know, and there is a grace, an extraordinary grace, and I know that she's experiencing it in her life, and I want to be there for her. And we want to be there for you, for each other, right? Thank you. I appreciate it. The daily word for today is gather. We gather and magnify the presence of God. As I gather with others in the spirit of love and peace, my awareness of God's presence becomes more powerful, even palpable. Together we create an energy, a vibration, greater than any of us has alone. And I'm comfortable and at ease when I notice our differing appearances, preferences, backgrounds, and opinions, because I am reminded of the limitless diversity of divine expression and my place in it. When I join in fellowship with my family, friends, and all others who are dear to me, each of us becomes a mirror for the others. We see in one another the divine presence that lives in and expresses as every person. The unifying energy of divine love unites and binds us together. In this love, we are one. Psalm 133:1 says, "How very good and pleasant it is when kindred live together in unity." And let's affirm together, we gather and magnify the presence of God. Let's say it one more time. We gather and magnify the presence of God. Beautiful. So I invite you to get comfortable now as we prepare ourselves for meditation.
Heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really first, the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Maybe I've been here before, yeah. I know this room and I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew you. I've seen your flag on the marble arch, and love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
I invite you to get still now. Perhaps you too have been through the haunted forest. And in the haunted forest you meet with your fears, the challenges of your life, because we're all different. Whatever that you may face may be totally different than what I might face. Perhaps you've had some fears that have crept in. Sometimes fear can take over your mind. And it's in those moments that you just keep breathing. You just keep breathing. You keep putting forth the tools that you've been given up to this point. And it's in those moments that you begin to prove to yourself what works and what doesn't work. And then that's where the grace comes in. Or you get that night's sleep and you wake up in the morning and the sun is shining, streaming through the window. Another beautiful day. A new beginning. And you begin to realize that even in your pain and your challenges, it's opened you up. And you begin to see the miracle that you really are. You are a miracle of grace. And I think it's important to give yourself a little pat on the back and say, hey, I'm doing good. I've made it this far. I see myself overcoming. I see myself continuing on this journey. I'm beginning to see the light shining brighter and brighter and brighter. And I open myself up to whatever happens or whatever is. And I'm confident that I'll have exactly what I need to deal with whatever it is when it shows up. And along the way, I'm grateful for the little moments of grace. The smile of a child. The laughter of a friend. A good cup of coffee. A good meal. The moments of grace in our lives. I invite you now just to take in a good deep breath. Allow yourself to feel the gratitude and the appreciation. If you know of someone that you would like to pray for in this moment, maybe you know someone that's suffering or that's experiencing some of these challenges. Maybe there's a friend with an illness. I invite you just to bring all of these ones into this moment here with us. For what is our sanctuary? It is a place, it's a hospital for the soul, for the heart. It's a hospital for all of us to be able to bring our broken pieces and broken parts together and to pray one for another for our healing. And so we bring our family, our friends, our loved ones here into this moment. And we pray for the miracle of healing and for the miracle of grace in each and every life. For the alignment of the body, the mind, and the spirit. Attuning to a greater awareness to that higher power. Finding the courage that we need to work through it all and move to the other side. We pray for the world today. We know that there's war, there's chaos, there's confusion. And so we pray for grace, for the law of grace. We pray for compassion and mercy and understanding. We just call forth divine order in our world, in all of our lives. And we are so grateful and thankful. And I invite you now to take a moment just to be present with your breath, present with one another, and the stillness. So now breathing gently, easily, in the name of the living, loving Christ's presence and all that is holy and sacred, we say Amen. And so it is. All right, let's reach and stretch. How are you this morning? All right, love it. Love it. Okay. Well, as we get back into the swing of things, we're going to be having our Tuesday mornings. And we've had to kind of change the dates a little bit on when we're going to start things. But it looks like the Tuesday morning meditations will begin again at 10:30, Tuesday mornings beginning May 17th. May 17th. All right? So keep that date in mind. And then on May 11th, we will begin our Wednesday night. And we're going to start with a circle of light meditation, where we get in the circle and we have prayer for those that need healing. And we just kind of share our gratitudes together, and it's just a wonderful time. So we've got some things coming. Also, today only, if you're looking for a good used book, we've got some used books in the bookstore. And they're 2 for $5 today only. So check them out. We've also got some new stuff, brand new books, and those aren't half price. Just the used ones. And the way that we have our bookstore now is you go in there, you grab an envelope, and you put your money in it, and then you put it in the box over there. It's all self-help. Right? Let's say together, this is a self-help church.
Self-help church.
All right? You got to pump your own gas. Now you got to pay for your own books. But it's a trust thing, right? Don't forget, there is the law of karma, too. But we're emphasizing the law of grace today. All right. So, and, hopefully we want to get back to having potlucks once a month as well. How many enjoyed the potluck last week that we had? Wasn't it great? Yeah, it was so good. And just really appreciate everybody participating. And we do have the Course in Miracles on Friday morning at 10:30. Meets here at the church. If you enjoy the Course in Miracles, just a great group. I was here a week before last and just loved it. It's always good because it's all about you, right? It's all about us. And that's what we're learning. So take advantage of these classes and courses. And, of course, we've got all of our online stuff as well that we do. And, yes. Yes, come on up here. Oh, yes, you do. So the people out there can hear.
Hello, Columbia. So I'm Sarah Hamby, and I help with the high school. YOU stands for Youth of Unity. And before the pandemic, they would have regular gatherings, retreats of sorts. So summer gathering is coming up. It's usually in Asheville. And we are starting to meet again on the first and third Sunday. Immediately following the service, we will hang out here till 12:30. It's a wonderful experience for our youth, and I really appreciate what Leah said today about anxiety. I'm a school counselor, and you would not believe the level of anxiety that even our children go through now. So it's a wonderful, safe space. For all sorts of people, we are welcoming and affirming of every youth and where they are at this point in their life. So if you know anybody who's interested, it's their space and their time. So Sundays, first and third Sunday, immediately following service until 12:30.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. That's wonderful, wonderful. So keep that in mind. And hey, it was my birthday Friday. And the reason I knew it was my birthday was because it was Earth Day. Because it's always on the same day. So going from birthday to Earth Day, we have a song that Melissa's going to do for us to kind of celebrate that. And we're so happy to have Melissa here with us this morning. Are you guys feeling it too? Yeah. And of course, Lamar on the drums too. Thank you, Lamar. We have a lot of talented people around here that we really appreciate. So why don't you sing for us, Melissa?
Happy to.
Okay.
Happy to be here. Thank you. Can you turn it up just a little bit more so I can hear it? Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or ask the grinning bobcat why he grins? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you. And for once, never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper skinned, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountains. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I hope that didn't sound too much like a recording so they don't. And it did. It was very close to the original there, or maybe better. But anyway, it was very good. Very good. Thank you, Melissa. All right. Thank you all so much for being here today. One thing I forgot to do was receive the offering today. I don't know why I've been forgetting to do that. What is going on? So I'm going to ask our ushers to come on, and if you'd like to get ready. And we just are so grateful. You know, if somebody asks what could you do for Unity that could really make a difference right now, and that would be be part of our consistent giving program. That's what really makes a difference for us, so that we can do all the things that we want to do. There's so much we want to do, and we want to continue to expand our band and put together some interesting programs for you that we're really excited about. So we really appreciate your giving this morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We really appreciate it. All right, let's do one last song while we're... we did this one earlier. Let's just do one line, or chorus of it.
Of what?
Of what?
Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Once more. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Yay! All right. All right, thanks so much for being here today. Thank you all for watching and being with us. We appreciate all of our Unity community. Let's all stand together. Now, you may be asking, James, how come we're not doing the peace song? Well, it's because we got to practice it. We have to relearn it. Give us some time, somebody, right? We're relearning everything all over again. Give us some grace. Tell the person next to you, I'm offering and extending to you the grace of God right now. No, you don't have to do it. That's all right. But it would be nice, wouldn't it?
You're extending it to him.
All right, let's say together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. For wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a good week, everybody.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.